ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवती अष्टादशाध्यायिनीं अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे हुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्रा येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्ण प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीप प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो धोक्ता गोपालनन्दन पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोणतडा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तककेशवा पाराशर्यवचः गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानगकेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयात् भारतपङ्कजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतस्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यं सामगा ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणा। देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Auntie, can you hear me now? She is not able to hear it. Okay, I hope there is no problem from my side. I think she is facing some other issue. Let me start the record. Hari Om once again to all of you. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is the timeless wisdom. Now we are going through the chapter 1, the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This chapter is not just relevant, but this is timeless. And we cannot say that this is just an ancient story. It is a metaphor of, or we can say it's a metaphor for the kind of inner battles we all fight. Arjuna's vulnerability, Arjuna's confusion, and search for meaning mainly reflect our conditions only, human conditions only. So that way, this is timeless. The chapter 1 is also timeless. The great warrior Arjuna, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where he is ready to fight a war against his own relatives, kin and kith, teachers, friends, just before the war begins, what happened to Arjuna? He got overwhelmed with emotional turmoil, moral confusions, and a kind of sense of helplessness. So that's where Arjuna puts down his bow and refused to fight. We know this story. The emotional overloading and the anxiety. We may think that, Arjuna's situation is not going to happen to us. We all are living in a very fast paced world where a constant pressure of producing results, constant pressure of deadlines in our life, pressure of competition, pressure of expectations, right? Where, be it from the professional world that we work, or even from the family. We have a consistent pressure of achieving things, deadlines to milestones to. We all are driven by expectations. And sometimes, we may feel an individual is successful. Maybe from an outside view, an individual, we may feel that person, he or she is successful. But internally, we don't know what sort of stress, what sort of battles an individual undergoes in life, the kind of anxiety, the kind of stress, the kind of sleeplessness. Eventually, human beings leading to a kind of a situation called as burning out. This usually happens in all of us. When the emotions overload us, when anxiety troubles us. Correct? And again, if you think from another dimension, the conflict of duty versus bringing emotions into that. Sometimes the kind of a moral dilemma that we all undergo in life. Should I say no to him or her? Should I say no to my relatives? A situation where a soldier undergoes, right? Or a firefighter, right? The weight of responsibility, the clash that any professional or any professional see in their realm. Let's take the example of a soldier fighting for the nation. So, what should be the motto of a soldier? I must stay there in the war to help the nation. Whereas the emotion or the personal commitments or the bonding will always pull that person back, or the kind of a urge will come in that person to go home and protect those who I love. Isn't it? And again, the fear of consequence that we all face in our life. What would happen? Maybe you all know the kind of news that we hear, suicides happening in the student community. It is increasing day by day. A student who got an admission in a top-notch university, right, with the right steps, that student got into the school with top grades, best of the colleges. Suddenly feels empty because not able to cope up with the competition, not able to cope up with the kind of struggles, the challenges. Or even in the professional world also, having a prestigious job, what am I doing? Suddenly feels some sort of emptiness, voidness. They often ask, what am I doing? Is this all there is? Despite having everything in life. Sometimes the question of what is the true purpose? Am I lost in that? Then the need for guidance. Sometimes we all will get stuck in life, not having a clarity. Yeah, another major news is basically the rates of divorce cases in India. It is going increasingly high. The need for guidance. Why such cases are happening? Why there happens a kind of a breaking point? Because such individuals are not clear what to do next, what beyond this. Or even a job loss. That individual comes to a breaking point, unsure of what to do next. To get the help from a therapist or a spiritual teacher or a guide or a good friend who can help to show the right direction. So that's where here in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan comes up for Arjuna. Bhagavan Krishna turns to Arjuna and says that I am there for you. Arjuna surrenders and say, I am your disciple. Please guide me. Please show me the right directions. So we cannot think Arjuna as a kind of a historical character alone, because these all examples show that this kind of struggles that Arjuna has undergone, we are also having. Moments of doubt comes, the moments of conflicts comes, the moments of changes in our life, right? Because consistently what happens in life is changes. So this story, the first chapter, is all about for us to feel deeply and very much important to ask, am I undergoing this kind of challenges in my life? How will I get clarity when I undergo this kind of challenges? Right? How will I get clarity rather than suppressing the struggle that I am undergoing? Because when the suppression comes, that is where the breakdown also happens. Not having a clarity what to do, what further. We have seen few verses of the chapter 1. And the first verse starts with King Dhritarashtra, who is blind both physically and morally. He is asking what is happening on the battlefield. So what is that tone here? This tone is basically Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya. So Dhritarashtra is trying to understand or trying to get the information through the eyes of someone. So he is trying to watch through the eyes of Sanjaya. And what is the characteristic of the Dhritarashtra here, who has turned away from the truth and avoid facing the inner conflict, though Dhritarashtra knows this is adharma. In fact, in a modern terminology, Dhritarashtra is trying to get a filtered feed. Filtered feed. What is happening? Through the eyes of someone, okay, where I am not able to see the truth inherently. I am trying to watch through the eyes of someone, and I am turning away from the truth. And further verses, if you see from the 2nd to 11, if you see what's happening, the armies are, coming or getting formed, and the generals of both armies, they are introduced with a particular strength of the Kauravas, meaning the ego of a kind of a self-assurance, where ego is what? Ego is basically the kind of a belief that happens in human beings. What is that belief? Belief that I have the control. So that is where Duryodhana also feels it is in control. I am ready to fight, unwilling to back down. So where a kind of a bragging happens there, surrounded by legends. Who are they? Bhishma, Drona, Karna, right? Duryodhana, he himself is bragging a bit. See the kind of a high performance team into the battle. And further, the verses 12 to 19, today we'll see those. The battle formation, where the battle formation happens through the conch shells, the war cries, lot amount of noise getting filled in the air. Basically, when we say noise, it is the crescendo of our outer noise, the distractions. So when we say noise, the kind of overwhelm of life that basically happens through the different expectations, the different pressures to perform. What happens when this exterior noise becomes dominant? Our inner voice will drop down. Two people were traveling in a bus. One at the window seat and the other one at the aisle seat. The one who was sitting at the aisle seat had a problem of hearing properly, very hard of hearing. And the person who is sitting at the window seat, so this person observed that that person is moving his mouth, doing something. So this person thought that the person who is sitting at the window seat is trying to say something to me. So now the one who is having hard of hearing says to the person who is sitting at the window that if you are talking, please say loudly. So that person says that, the other one says that I am eating chewing gum. Basically, the reality is something different. And see the imagination of the person who is hard of hearing that sound. Similarly, we all think, we all have imaginations in life. Pressure to perform, until and unless I do this, I will not be getting that fulfillment. I have to prove to the world. But the reality is going to be different. So then comes the verses 20, 21, 22, 23, where Arjuna, the brave warrior, asked Krishna to place the chariot between the two armies. I want to see with whom I am going to fight. This moment is very symbolic because this is the beginning of a change or a transformation that is going to happen in Arjuna. In another way, in another dimension, we can say this is the beginning of self-awareness. Something is going to pause. So Arjuna is going to encounter a kind of a problem, a kind of a conflict. Conflict, not only the exterior conflict, the interior conflict also. Both outside and inside, the kind of a conflict is going to harm Arjuna. So that is where Arjuna is going to start reflecting on the larger implications of the choices before him. So similar to Arjuna, we all face different moments of pause in life, where the external circumstances push us to turn inward. External circumstances will start triggering us or start triggering questions in us. What is my true purpose? How will I gain clarity when I undergo this kind of a hurdle in life? So that is where the truth which is there within all of us. When we say truth, the self-awareness is stepping in, making us to think more consciously, to start taking thoughtful decisions that aligns with one's deeper values. So today we will see the few verses. In the last session we saw that Duryodhana's materialistic view of the strength. In today also we will see that the verse number 10, basically Duryodhana gives importance to the strength, meaning the materialism, the ego, the attachment to the power, the attachment to the external success, the attachment to the kingdom, attachment to the status, attachment to the control, so on and so forth. Where an external quantification is the dominant thought of Duryodhana, and that is the strength. Strength based on materialism, strength based on ego, strength based on power. So that is where in the 10th verse we can see the strength based on army size and weapons. That is what Duryodhana is trying to say. And if you see Arjuna, what is Arjuna offered with? Arjuna is offered with the wisdom that is given by Bhagavan, the Kripa. So here in the 10th verse, let us see the 10th verse. Aparyaptam tadasmagam balam bhishmabhirakshitam paryaptam tvidametesham balam bhimabhirakshitam. So basically the comparison of the armies are comparison is happening here. So aparyaptam tadasmadam balam bhishmabhirakshitam. We will interpret in this way now. Our army is protected by whom? By the Bhishma, who is unlimited, aparyaptam. Whereas paryaptam to the vedesham balam bhimabhirakshitam. Whereas the Pandavas army protected by Bhima is limited. So here Duryodhana quantifies the strength in terms of the quantity of the army. And it is also clear that the Kaurava Sainya outnumbered in the people's strength. Where Bhagavan Krishna also offered or gave the army. Bhagavan's army also joined the Kaurava Bhaksha. And Lord Krishna joined Arjuna. And the condition is basically, you can take me or the Sainya. But again the condition is, I will not fight. You can choose. So what Pandavas did, they welcome Bhagavan. They positioned the Lord, they positioned Bhagavan Krishna. Whereas Kauravas, they also know that they are not doing the righteousness. They underestimated the righteousness. They gave more prominence to the quantity of Sainyam, whereas Pandavas gave importance to righteousness. They gave importance to the quality. On the top of everything, they gave importance to that divine support. Kauravas, driven by the materialistic mindset. We all know that. Greed or the anxiety for the status. This is not the problem of Kauravas, even we human beings. These Durvasanas or Asadvasanas can take control of Sadvasanas also, correct? Sometimes the greed creeps in, sometimes the anxiety for status. I need the big house, I need fame, I need more likes for my post. I need more power. I need to show that I am powerful. Sometimes, the toxic competition also comes in our mind. So here, Duryodhana says, the dependence on Bhishma, Drona, Karna, with a materialistic mindset. I can ensure my own victory. Okay? So now, ignoring the power of dharma, ignoring the power of divinity, Duryodhana focused more on the materialistic strengths. Duryodhana upfront rejected the divine wisdom. He refused that dharma has no meaning, because I also know Krishna, what is right, what is wrong, but my inner tendencies are not allowing me to do the dharma. So Duryodhana, he himself gave no meaning for the outcome of dharma. Sometimes, we human beings also have this kind of a dharma adharma confusions. For example, sometimes when we do a wrongdoing, our inner conscience says that, hey, this is not right, should I do? Right? Can we prevent it? Can you prevent it? This kind of a pull sometimes come in us also, correct? When we try to do something wrong. For example, a diabetic patient, very clear that we should not consume the sweets. Today it's okay. So that is where the inner conscience is. Why should you eat? The doctor recently advised. No? You also know that. You know scientifically also. Otherwise also from the experience also. This kind of a confusion, this kind of an inner pull comes, but still, the mind says, no problem, today is okay. Or sometimes, when we are hosted, that person will also say, nothing will happen, no, today you drink with sugar, or you have this. One sweet will not make much difference. No? At that time also our inner conscience says that, should I accept or not? Then we may feel kind of an ethical dilemma. He's offering, and how can I deny? Basically, the kind of an ideology crisis happened in us. Correct. So here, Duryodhana, he refused that dharma, the righteousness, has no meaning. See, what happens is basically if we consistently or constantly ignore that inner call, what happens is the mind's influence is that in such a way the asuriga sampat, the wrongdoings or the tendency to do the wrongdoings will get dominated, and the sub vasanas will become dormant, and the mind will get into the overpowering mode of doing wrong things. At some point of time, if you don't give importance to that inner conscience, the amount of wrongdoings will go in an increased way. So that is where we all have to be watchful. Am I arrogant? Am I egoistic? Is the ego taking shape? Is the ego, is preventing me to go in the right direction? That is where we need to have a checks and balance. So here in Duryodhana's case, in Kauravas, the root cause of the downfall is the ego and greed. And it doesn't mean that these conflicts came into the minds of Kauravas, but they never wanted to resolve those conflicts peacefully, because the materialistic mindset always blinded and bounded them. And if you see Duryodhana as a character, always got indulged into the violence, and how the violences were done through the body, through the speech, through the thoughts. Violence done by self, violence done through the others, or support or enable or encourages or encourage others to do the violence, to put the Pandavas down. In Sanskrit, Krita, Karita, Anumodita. The violence either done directly by the self or done through the others, or encourage others to do. We can see ample number of stories in the Mahabharata. And why this violence got initiated? Due to anger, due to greed, due to delusion, due to arrogance, due to ego. Violence in many types and degrees. So the first chapter basically sets the context to all of us that this is a timeless lesson. Confusions, anxieties, conflicts, all those things will be bound to happen in all of us. But the true strength lies in the righteousness, dharma. Strength lies in the wisdom. Strength lies in the grace, not just in the external power. This is the biggest lesson that we have to learn from the first lesson. So verse number 10, as we saw, Abhiryaptam Tadasmagam Balam Bhishmabhirakshidam Paryaptam Tidamedesham Balam Bhimabhirakshidam. So our army is larger in size, being larger. And well protected by whom? Well protected by Bhishma Pidamaha. Cannot be innumerable, but that army of theirs, Pandavas, protected or defended by Bhima, is much less in number. So now verse 11. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yada bhagamavastida bhishmevabhirakshantu bhavanta sarva evahi. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yada bhagam avastida bhishmam eva abhirakshantu bhavanta sarva evahi. So stationed in your respective places in the division of the army and support as well as protect Bhishma alone, because he is very important. So stationed in your respective places and position, ensure that the Bhishma is properly protected. Verse number 12. Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuruvritha pidamaha simhanadam vinadyochai shangham datmau pratapavan. So tasya sanjanayan harsham kuruvritha pidamaha simhanadam vinadya uchai shangam datmau pratapavan. So here what is happening now? So here onwards the conches are blown. Conches meaning what is the symbolism of, or what is the meaning of blowing conches here? It's basically the declaration of intention and identity. Declaration of intention and identity. We all blow conches, right? When we meet somebody, what happens actually? We are trying to declare the identity and intention. So what is happening in the Kauravas case? The conscious, basically, the noise and aggression, the path of no righteousness is blown. Whereas in the Pandavas case, the energy, the confidence, and the moral clarity. So conscious are blown for what? Declaring the intention and the identity. And who has done the blowing of conch from the Kaurava side first? The Bhishma, the grandfather of the Kuru family, who is known for what? For his valor. Loudly, Simhanadam Vinadya Uchai, loudly let out a lion's roar, roaring like a lion, and blew his conch in order to make the Duryodhana happy, to satisfy the ego of Duryodhana. The Pidamaha, Kuru Pidamaha, who is known for his valor, loudly let out a lion's roar and blew his conch. So Bhishma is the materialistic ego. And this materialistic ego is producing the joy in the heart of Duryodhana, who symbolizes the materialistic power. So the war, the beginning of the war by blowing the conch. So Bhishma is the commander-in-chief, correct? Who gives the command to everyone to get ready. So Duryodhana represents the materialistic desires. That is incurable disease. This is the why it's incurable, because the greed of power, envy. So now what happens? The rest of the Kaurava army, right? The dominant people started blowing the conches, kettle drums, stavers, etc. So that is what the next verse is. Tada shanghascha bheryascha panavanaga gomukha sahasaivabhyahanyanda sa shabdastumulo bhavat. Tada shankha cha bherya cha panava anaga gomukha sahasa eva abhyanyanta sa shabda tumula abhavat. So then what happened? Then suddenly the conches, kettle drums, tabors, trumpets, gomukha. Okay. The cow horns. What happened? Shabda tumula abhavat. So this blared forth quite suddenly, and the noise was very tremendous. When we say the blowing of conches, implied meaning is we all blow the conches, we all show the power, we do show off in life. Show off through what? Show off through expressing the power, wealth, our skills, our achievement, our position in the society. See, we blow our trumpets. Bhishma is the ego. Asmita meaning the representation of egoism. I am the ego. And The characteristics of the ego is basically puts us in such a condition that we will forget our true nature. Ego brings forgetfulness of our true nature, and ego puts us in a situation that we operate with a false identity. So Bhishma represents the egoism. Ego, we have to understand in our practical life, when we forget our true capability, our true nature, our true inner potential, and operate with a stereotyped identity, with a false identity, that's where we can say we are caught up with ego. So now, Tada Shvedair, next verse 14. Tada Shvedair Hayair Yukte Mahadisyandane Stidau Madhava Pandavaschaiva Divyau Shanghau Pradatmadu. Tada Shvedai Haye Yukte Mahadi Sendane Stidau Madhava Pandava Cha Eva Divyau Shanghau Pradatmadu. So then Krishna and Arjuna, so Sendana is basically the chariot. Madhava Pandava Seva, Pandava Cha Eva, meaning Arjuna and Krishna and Arjuna seated in the Mahadisyandanam, the great chariot, drawn by the white horses, blew their divine conches. 15, verse number 15. Panjajanyam Rishikesha Devadattam Dhananjaya Poundram Datmau Mahashangham Bhima Karma Vrigodara. So the Rishikeshan, Krishna, blew the Panjajanyam, and the Dhananjaya, who is Arjuna, blew the conch called, what is that? Devadattam. Devadatta or Devadattam. And Vrigodharan, who is Bhima, blew his large conch called as Poundra. Okay. So here the Panjajanyam, born of the 5 elements, meaning the divine power that controls our senses, Rishikesh. And the Devadatta is the conch of Dhananjaya. Devadatta meaning the gift of the gods. The connection to dharma and the blessings of the god. Devadatta. Poundra is again a mighty conch. Bhima's strength. Poundra represents Bhima's strength. Here it is mentioned as Vrigodhara, the one with a wolf's belly. Meaning, wolf's belly, if you see, it will be always thin. You can say that belly can afford a lot. Wolf's belly meaning the immense appetite for the food and battle. Ananda Vijayam Raja Kundi Putro Yudhishthiraha Nakula Sahadevascha Suhoshamani Pushpakau. So Ananda Vijayam, King Yudhishthira, who is the son of Kunti Putro Yudhishthira, blew his conch called Ananda Vijayam. Nakula and Sahadeva blew their conches, named what? Sukhosham and Mani Pushpagam. Ananda Vijay meaning Ananda Vijay, the truth and justice. Right? The symbolism of truth and justice. Ananda, always existing, guaranteed success. Sukhosham, Sukhosham meaning the good sound or the melodious sound. Nakula, Nakulan, Sukhosha is the melodious sound. Sukhosha is the conch of Nakula, and Manipushpaga is the conch of Sahadeva, a jewel adorned conch that shows wisdom and the divine insight. Verse 17, Kasyascha Parameshwasah Shikhandi cha Maharadha Drishtadhyumno Viradascha Satyagischa Parajita. Kasya cha Parameshwasah Shikhandi cha Maharadha Drishtadhyumna Virada cha Satyagi cha Aparajita. The expert bowman or the archer, who is that? Kashi Raja, the king of Kashi, as well as the great warrior Maharada Shikhandi, then Drishtadhyumna and Virada Raja, and the Satyaki, who is unconquered, Aparajita, all blow their conches. So who is Drishtadhyumna? Drishtadhyumna is the commander-in-chief, and Virada, basically there is a connection, who is the king of Virada Desha, where the Virada Raja, who Virada gave the shelter to Pandavas during their incognito exile in the kingdom, into his kingdom. Okay, so Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvasha Prithivipade Saubhadrascha Mahabahu Shanghandatmu Prudak Drupada Draupadeya cha Sarvasha Prithivipade Saubhadra cha Mahabahu Shanghan Datmu Pradak. So the king Dhritarashtra, he basically Sanjay is saying to Dhritarashtra, King Drupada and the sons of Draupadi and the mighty armed son of Subhadra, who is that? Abhimanyu, all blew their respective conches, producing distinct sound. So Drupadan is the father of Draupadi, and Draupadi's sons Pradivindya, Sutasoma, Shrutikirti, Shatanika, Shrutasena, the 5 sons, and all got killed by Ashwadhama. This is one of the darkest and the painful moments in the Mahabharata. And Abhimanyu, who is Abhimanyu? Who is the Mahabahu, who is the extraordinary person with bravery and skills, fearless, determined. Verse number 19. Saghosho dharta rashtrana hrudayani vyadarayad nabhascha pradivim chaiva tumulo vyanudana venunadayan sakhosha dhartarashtranam hridayani vyadarayad nabhascha prithivim chaiva tumulo vyanudadayan sakhosha dhartarashtranam hridayani vyadarayad nabha cha prithivim cha eva tumula venunadayan. The terrific noise, the kind of tremendous sound shattered the hearts of the Dhritarashtra's army or party, and it resounded loudly across the skies. Then what happened? Adhavyavastidan drishtva dhartarashtran kavidhvaja pravrutte shastra sampade thanurudyamya pandava rishikesham tada vakyam idamaha mahipade. Then with the battle ready to begin, all conches, all blowing conches are done. Blowing of conches are done. Now the commentary is going like this. The battle is going to start. O King Dhritarashtra, see the sons of Dhritarashtra standing assembled on the battlefield, and Rishikesham tada vakyam idamaha mahipade pravritte shastra sampade. Kavidhvaja dashtarashtra kavidhvaja pravritte shastra sampade. Arjuna, who had the Hanuman on his banner, then what, lifting his bow, said these words. So here Hanuman is the symbolism of strength and protection, symbolism of devotion, bhakti, symbolism of divine energy. So Hanuman is all about the union of bhakti and karma, devotion and action. Also, Arjuna challenged Hanuman by not knowing the true capability of Hanuman, without knowing who Hanuman is, who Hanuman really is. So here the vow that Hanuman gave to Arjuna, what is that vow? I will be with you, the reminder of a vow. The blessing. This is the kind of a big assurance. So Hanuman, in the form of symbolism of strength, protection, devotion, divine energy, the integration of bhakti, karma, the whole possibility of the blessings extended. So now Arjuna is going to tell or talk. Arjuna uvacha senayorubhayor madhye radam stapaya vechuda yavadedan niriksheham yudhukamanavastidan kairmaya sahayodhavyam asmin rena samudyame yosyamanan aveksheham yedetra samagada dhartarashtrasya durbuddhe yuddhe priya chikirshavah. The verse basically brings a very pivotal moment in the Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna is formally asking the charioteer Bhagavan Krishna to position the chariot between the two armies. So this request is basically initiating the war. And now this is a changing point, this is a turning point. This request basically initiates the beginning of the deep internal struggle happening in Arjuna that ultimately leads to the spiritual discourse called Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So here we have to think battlefield as a metaphor for life. We cannot say that, I'm not a warrior and this kind of wars won't happen and this is not relevant. Battlefield is the metaphor for life. The inner conflicts between different, or we can say inner conflicts between what is wrong, what is right, what is duty, what is emotion, what is righteous, what is non-righteous, what is attachment, what is non-attachment, right? So I wish to see, right, Dhartarashtrasya Durbuddhe Yuddhe Priya Chikirshava. I wish to see who have gathered here with the intention of fighting, who want to carry out fight on behalf of Kauravas. So here Kauravas, here it is mentioned as Durbuddhe. Specifically refers Duryodhana as the Durbuddhi, one with the evil intellect, showing the belief that, or what is the right word, showing the indication that due to this Durbuddhi, due to the Duryodhana's evil mind, people have gathered for this war. So I want to see who are they. So this kind of inner conflicts happen in us, this kind of Vishadam, because this is the state of a Vishadam in Arjuna, right? I really want to see. That is where the Durbuddhi, the word comes here. Though this is known as adharma, irrespective of that, I want to see who all have gathered and who all are there on behalf of Kauravas. So in our life also, the difficult choices, right, whether to do right things or wrong things, even if you know it is wrong, right, the difficult choices will come, or how to balance personal benefit versus a greater good. So basically this is a trigger for all of us to analyze the situations in our life with wisdom and act righteously. Don't get afraid. Don't get afraid of things. Don't allow the attachment to overpower us. When the dilemmas are there, say for example profit versus ethics, or honesty versus dishonesty, or acting straightforward versus not acting straightforward, what we need to do? We need to overcome this situation with clarity, with wisdom, and act based on the righteousness, not with fear and attachment. So, because the fear of failure will come, the fear of rejection will come, the fear of criticism will come. So, that is where sometimes we all are stopped to take the right actions. What we need to have courage and clarity. We need to have the right emotional intelligence. So what we need to do, we need to pause, we need to reflect, we need to seek a higher perspective before acting in life. So questions like, am I reacting or responding? Is this the right choice? Or sometimes, am I getting the right guidance, or am I involved in the right association of the people? Am I gaining clarity out of the people who are there? Are they leading me to the right direction or not? Am I getting the right guidance? Am I associated with the right people? Am I with the right mentor? Am I with the right guru? Am I with the right experienced people who helps me for my upliftment? So Bhagavan is referred as avijnata saha, imperceptible companion, who is the guru for victory for Arjuna. So the divinity, Ishvaro Guru Atmedi, that Atma, the Guru, the Lord, who is residing in all of us as the Adhyakshan, as the inner consciousness, should direct us. Here, Arjuna positioned Bhagavan Krishna in front of him. Bhagavan Krishna as the Guru Avijnada Sakha. He positioned Avijnada Sakha Krishna as the Guru for victory in life. So the question to all of us is basically, how will we derive the inner strength? How will we friend with that Krishna who is the inner strength of all of us? How will we accept challenges as a part of life? How will we accept them as it is, face with strength, face with courage, adapt, learn, and keep moving with this inner wisdom? This is a question that we have to reflect. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I will stop the recording here.